Hello, I am Yorkie and welcome to a product review of the BenQ EX3501R that is sat here on my desk behind me, and we shall be taking a look to see whether this monitor is perfectly suited for a single screen sim racing setup. But before we do get into that, I do want to make perfectly clear that this video is a sponsored video by BenQ. They sent the monitor through to me for review, and although I am very grateful that they've given me this opportunity, and it was very kind of them to offer this opportunity to myself as well, I do still want to be reasonably fair and objective as I possibly can be in this video to give you guys the best kind of recommendation to see whether this monitor is really the real deal when it comes to a single screen setup. So diving straight in then, the BenQ EX3501R is a 35-inch 21:9 aspect ratio VA panel. It features a 3440 by 1440 resolution and a 100Hz refresh rate, as well as a host of other features such as AMD FreeSync, HDR support, and also BenQ's Brightness Intelligence Plus technology. It's a very cool, neat little feature which I found very useful on this monitor, as what the Brightness Intelligence Plus technology essentially does is detect the amount of ambient light and the color temperature in the room, and then adjust the on-screen brightness and color temperature in order to make the viewing experience of the monitor that much more comfortable. And yes, it will detract a little bit from the brightness of the whites and the boldness of the colors in your image on the monitor, but for someone like me who uses the monitor for extended periods of time, having the screen automatically adjust itself in terms of its brightness according to the ambient levels in the room just means there's less eye strain, and it creates a much more comfortable viewing experience when using the monitor for hours on end. Now, as mentioned earlier, it does support HDR technology, which is fantastic for your Blu-ray films and games that do support high dynamic range. It will allow you to see the finer details in those darker black and brighter white areas, which helps to bring a much clearer and crisper picture and improves the overall image quality from the monitor. Overall, I've been very happy in this area, and I've been very pleased with the image quality in both the games and also the films and videos that I have watched using the monitor. I'm by no means a monitor expert. There'll be other people out there who will have a much more accurate and in-depth knowledge into the color accuracy and brightness levels of the monitor itself, but for me as kind of a more average punter, I've got no complaints over the image quality. It does come with a number of picture presets that you can choose between, of which the standard, sRGB, HDR and MBook presets are the four best that I have seen. It does come with some gamer presets and also a couple of custom slots as well, where you can fine tune the brightness, the gamma, the color levels, and also disable or enable some of the features that the monitor actually comes with. But for me, in the end, I just ended up settling with the HDR preset and have been very happy ever since. Now, unfortunately for me, I haven't been able to make use of the AMD FreeSync, so I can't really comment there as I use an NVIDIA GeForce graphics card. However, the 100Hz refresh rate is perfectly suitable for the gaming that I have done on this monitor. It's provided a very nice, smooth, fluid gaming experience. There's been no screen tearing, there's been no ghosting that I have noticed. However, I will advise to use a DisplayPort cable rather than a HDMI cable just to ensure that you get optimal performance. But if you do have an AMD graphics card, then obviously you can make use of the AMD FreeSync just to make sure you're eliminating any tearing or choppy gameplay. Now let's move on to the design and styling of the monitor, and this is something that I really like about the BenQ EX3501R. It has that really nice wide profile, being a 35-inch monitor, and it also features an 1800R curvature to it as well, which makes the monitor look really sleek and helps to immerse you in your gaming or viewing experience when watching films or videos. The bottom of the monitor has a reusable bezel which features the BenQ logo, and also an area below that houses the sensor for the Brightness Intelligence Plus technology. And then on the underside and to the right is the power buttons and various buttons that allow you to flick through the monitor's menu, adjust the various different picture settings and select your picture preset. Along the sides and top is a really nice thin and sleek bezel. However, in this area is one of the minor shortfalls of this monitor, in that the screen doesn't go all the way up to the very edge of the bezel. Now I am being extremely picky here because that is less than 10mm, having actually measured it, but even still, if you were looking for a triple screen setup and you wanted to use these screens, you're not going to get a 100% true borderless experience using this monitor. However, as it is less than 10mm between the edge of the screen and the outer edge of the monitor itself, when you're actually watching a film or a video or you're playing a game, you don't really notice it. And I imagine you probably won't notice it in a triple screen setup either once you're underway racing and you're kind of fully immersed in the experience, because the bezel is that small anyway in the first place. So yeah, it is a really small minor nitpicky thing, but I do just wish that the screen did go those few extra millimeters up towards the edge of the bezel. Coming down to the stand, we have a very nice silver finish with a pair of stainless steel legs which provide a very nice stable platform. This is something that is very key for me, because where I do my sim racing with my wheel attached to the desk, the same surface that the monitor is sat upon, there is potential for vibrations and the force feedback to basically filter through the desk and in towards the monitor and potentially shake it around. However, I've not experienced that with this monitor. It's been very stable and rigid. It hasn't moved around. I have my TrackIR sat on top and it's been very nice and stable. I haven't had any huge jitters or anything that's kind of shaken the monitor, caused it to knock around into the TV and second monitor that I have in pretty close proximity. So the monitor has a very good, stable, solid platform. So that is a definite plus there for me in terms of using this monitor for sim racing. Cut out into the back of the stand is a hole that allows you to filter cables through, which is perfect for cable management, something that I really like on the BenQ monitors. And in terms of monitor adjustment, we're able to increase and decrease the height of the monitor and adjust the tilt of the monitor between 5 degrees and 15 degrees. So there isn't a huge amount of adjustment there. You can't rotate the monitor to switch it between landscape or portrait, although I doubt you really want a 35-inch portrait monitor. And if you want to pan the monitor around to a different angle, you'll have to adjust it at the base. There isn't any pan adjustment there, so you will need to physically rotate the whole of the base and the monitor itself to the angle that you desire. When it comes to the various ports in the back of the monitor, we have a single headphone or speaker jack. We've got 2 HDMI ports, a single display port, we've got 2 USB 3.0 ports, and then a single USB-C port if you wish to connect up with USB-C connectivity. And then finally, the last thing to mention, there is a wall mounting transfer kit that is an optional accessory, which will obviously then allow you to mount the monitor up onto a wall or up onto a sim rig if you have one at home and are wishing to use the monitor on that. So the big question then, is this monitor perfectly suited for a single screen sim racing setup, and what my overall final thoughts are on the BenQ EX3501R. Overall, I'm very happy to say that this monitor is fantastic for a single screen sim racing setup. The design is very clean and slick, and the base provides a very nice stable platform even if mounted onto the same surface as a force feedback wheel. The colours and brightness levels, as I mentioned earlier, were very nice, bright and bold. I didn't have to worry about fiddling with the monitor settings to get the colour or the brightness levels to what I was wanting. It was very much just kind of plug and play and then just choose the picture preset that I thought looked the best and allowed me to make use of the monitor's features. And despite not being able to make use of the AMD FreeSync, the 100Hz refresh rate was more than enough to allow me to get a nice smooth gaming experience. And obviously when sim racing, having a higher refresh rate and being able to run at those higher FPSs allows you to just be that little bit more pinpoint accurate with your braking points and just kind of generally get a much smoother, more fluid picture when racing along at high speeds. Now with the monitor's width and its resolution, obviously I was able to adjust the field of view a little bit to open the field of view up to get a little bit more within the screen. And with the very slight subtle curve and just the general size of the screen as well, it really does help to immerse you getting into the car and actually racing along. You do get lost into the screen much easier than you do with a smaller monitor, and you very much appreciate that. Everything within the screen and within the game world looks a little bit more realistic in size, and it just has a much more pleasurable and higher quality experience feel to it. Obviously with films and videos you get a very similar experience where you do feel a little bit more immersed, and just using the monitor for kind of more day-to-day stuff like web browsing, looking at social media, watching YouTube videos online, doing video editing and image editing, where you've got so much more screen real estate, you can essentially divide it in half and treat it as two separate screens. You can have, for example, on one side kind of your social media, your Twitter or Facebook, and on the other half you can have a YouTube video playing at the same time, and you'll have plenty of room to be able to look at both without having to compromise with, say, a smaller YouTube video panel or the Twitter panel kind of being cut in half with having to run a narrower browser window. So even when you're not using the monitor for films or games and kind of utilizing its full performance, it has its additional perks there and just kind of generally makes the whole user experience of using the monitor that much more enjoyable and that much easier. The only thing that I wish that they would have improved upon or done a little bit differently was the screen going right up to the edge of the bezels. As I mentioned earlier, it's quite a small thing, it's under 10mm, but it would have just made the monitor look that just tiny little bit better. But other than that, there hasn't been anything else about the monitor that has made me feel let down or fallen short. So would I recommend this monitor for a single screen setup? Yes, I definitely would. So I'll leave a link in the description below to the monitor on Amazon. That way you can go and do your own little bit of research if you're in the market looking for a monitor and you're kind of interested in the BenQ EX3501R. But otherwise, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a rating. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. I'll try and get back to you as soon as I possibly can. But otherwise, if you are new here, please consider subscribing to the channel with the bell notification on. That way you don't miss out on any future content. But otherwise, I've been Yorkie. Thank you very much for watching. Until the next time, have fun, stay safe, and take care.